up, everyone? This is Lost Panel. I'm Austin. This is John. This is Steve. And
Hello.
Today, episode 2, we're going to be talking about Sinister and The Conjuring 2, and we're going to be comparing those two movies. And I'll be thinking, why in the world would we do that? Well, Steve's going to explain that.
It does seem to be strange. Why we're comparing specifically those two movies, The Conjuring 2 and Sinister, is because there was a survey done, and they were both listed as some of the scariest movies. How they determined this was the average elevated heart rate throughout the entire movie. The highest on that was Sinister, meaning people were scared, throughout the whole movie. It wasn't just, at the end or at the beginning. And then The Conjuring 2 had the highest spikes in heart rate, so the most frightening jump scares
yep.
throughout the movie. So we're going to compare and contrast these two movies and talk about the differences in methodology they took. We're going to give a brief summary of the plot, talk about what we liked, what we dislike, and then we're going to argue for which one we agree or which one we think is better. Fair warning for everybody that's watching, spoilers, right? We're going to be talking about the plots of these movies, how they end, how we think that plays out with the story. So if you haven't seen either The Conjuring 2 or Sinister and you've just been waiting to see how those movies turn out, even though they've been out for a few years, fair warning, go watch them first, then come back and check out our video.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, Sinister. Sinister is about this...
It's a comedy that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's about this true crime writer who moves into towns, he investigates, and he writes murder stories. Mm-hmm. And he tries to help local police solve murders.
Or overturn convictions. That's why some of the people didn't like him.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yep.
That's right. Yep.
So, the plot of this story is he moves him and his family into this murder house where there's been this
one is known to do.
This grisly murder of a family, and the smallest child has gone missing. And so he's kind of a washed up writer at this point in his career. It's been 10, 15 years. He had his 15 minutes of fame where he had...
Kentucky Blood, I think.
I think
Kentucky Blood.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
Where he helped solve a crime, and that gave him, national notoriety for a small time. But it's been 10 or 15 years since then, and he hasn't had any kind of hits, and he's just jonesing. His character is just addicted to that feeling and kind of narcissistic and trying to get back to national stardom again. And he's just looking for his one big break again, and he keeps putting his family through these strains and moving them around. And anyway, he moves into this murder house, and crazy stuff starts happening to him and his family. And that's pretty much the summary of it.
So The Conjuring 2 is obviously the sequel to The Conjuring. It's based off of true story, allegedly, of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Notorious, true story. What were they technically? They weren't like demonologists. They were...
that's what they refer to themselves as. They refer to themselves as demonologists.
Right.
But they don't have any official affiliation with the Roman Catholic Church or anything. They claim that they were called in to consult on different things with the church. Yeah. But it seems... I haven't been able to find solid evidence.
They're passed on now, so we can't ask them about it, unfortunately. I guess we could talk to Annabelle, but I don't really want to do that. But yeah, so it really follows this English family where the mom and, I forget, it was a ton of children, like 5 or 6 or something like that. And the father had left them a while ago, and they were just really having a hard time, like, money-wise, just they weren't happy at all. And
the house was just dirty,
like significantly, like astonishingly dirty.
So dirty.
With every scene, it got a little bit dirtier, and so as evil entities like to do, really kick you when you're down. That's kind of what happened with his family. It really follows how things progress, like stuff moving around a little bit, like police witness, and it's actually in a real police report. That's actually in a real police report when the chair moved, and then how things kind of started manifesting, and they brought in Ed and Lorraine Warren to help
police
their
report.
Ghost.
So the police report.
Oh, well, I didn't look it up, but that's what it said. But yeah, they brought in Lorraine Warren to see if they really needed an exorcist, and no one really believed this family. And then they got tape recording of, a grown man talking out of this little girl. So they brought him in, and it kind of just follows that and progresses from there. So,
Cool.
yeah.
So, with those two movies, what's the big twist with them? Like, so how do they end?
Well, for The Conjuring 2, the biggest thing is that we were kind of under this impression that there was like a ghost or whatever kind of bugging these kids of that old man. I forget his name. Bill something, whatever. That was really tormenting these kids. And it turned out that at the end, it was a demon that was basically hiding behind the ghost and using him to torment the family. And
Literally behind or figuratively behind?
well, if you remember at the point that like the old man was in the chair and the demon the nun literally put her hand from behind the old man.
So both?
I think both, yeah. And the little girl
Solid.
said that when she heard the voice or the voice spoke out of her, it was like it was behind her, it wasn't in her as well, which I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the protagonist, Lorraine Warren, she had a vision of this nun and it killing her husband, so she didn't want him to go through with it, and then he did anyway, and then the nun almost used a curtain rod to knock him off the house to impale him, and that plan didn't go through too well.
So how'd she bust the ghost?
Oh, she busted the ghost by learning its name, which we all know is a foolproof, safe way to
So no proton pack, nothing.
No proton pack, no blood of Jesus, just, hey you, Valak, go and get.
I mean, I get that. In social situations, I get awkward. People say my name, I freak out too.
It's true, I'd probably leave.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
too.
Especially when I was trying to murder somebody. And
Yeah,
somebody
that'd be, they call you your
time
name.
to go.
Yeah, that's just weird.
So what about Sinister, John? How did Sinister end it?
Sinister, it ended, so the movie does a good job of trying to get you to think that, so the guy's got two kids. He's got an older son and he's got a younger daughter. And at the very beginning of the movie, the older son, like, has this weird, like, exorcist movement outside of, like, a box. Like, he's inside of a box, and then he, like, comes up out of it upside down. And he looks like demonized, and it really like throws you for a loop, and it's just this red herring. And so at the end of the movie, it turns out like it's the youngest daughter that's really committing all these crimes, and that the young children are actually being possessed and committing all these crimes, and that's why they go missing. So actually, it was a really good twist. Honestly, I didn't see it coming. So.
And that one, they didn't bust the ghost, right?
No, yeah, that one ends with Ethan Hawke actually getting murdered along with the rest of his family.
The ghost busts them.
And then, the ghost busts them. And then, he just lives to go torment another family. I think at the end, another family is moving into their house or something, and they find like a reel of tape, which is how the whole thing started for him when he moved into that house. So,
well, the sequel literally has the same cop in it, trying to stop it.
So, right.
Yeah, so it's connected.
Then the children that disappear, they go into the spooky ghost realm.
Shadow realm.
Something like that.
They get banished to the shadow realm.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't really understand how that works.
Yeah, me neither.
But they're just chilling with the Gabagool in the shadow realm.
Abdul?
Yeah, running in really
Bagool.
weird slow motions down the hall at one point. That was a weird scene.
Yeah.
So, no, the ghost's actual name was the Bagool, right?
Yes.
Supposedly this ancient entity that lives inside images.
So, Steve, what did you like about Sinister?
Well, John, Sinister was actually a really well done movie. Yeah, I was going to be really campy with it. Sorry. But one of the things I really liked, and this is going to sound semi-pretentious, right, is the cinematography. And what I mean by that is how the movie was shot, right? Like, it's very dark inside the house, and the colors are very saturated outside.
Yeah. Yep.
So it just makes the whole time that you're in the house, which is where all the spooky stuff is happening, right? It gives you this feeling of dread or that something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that really contributed to the overall like spookiness of the movie and why people had the highest average heart rate going throughout the whole thing, because you never knew when something was going to happen.
It could pop out at any point.
Right,
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we're in the spooky house, now we're going to take a break and go somewhere else.
They were in the house the whole damn movie.
Right,
Dang movie.
except for the neighbor's house,
There
but
goes
that
the
apparently
monetization.
wasn't safe either, right?
Yeah, right.
So that we find out. So I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed kind of the journey that Ethan Hawke took. One from I mean, we'll talk about this in the dislikes, but he's just a terrible father. But
Quite the journey.
right, but the whole time he is just trying to get to the bottom of this mystery so he can become famous again.
Right.
Like, it was relatable. Like, even when you're sitting there like, this is a stupid decision, as you do when you're watching horror movies, like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Right.
You know, a lot of times you're like, okay, well, I can see his reasoning, right? Like, he's desperate.
And his wife's close to leaving him at this point, too.
Right.
She
And
made
so
that
such
very
a strain.
obvious.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there's just emotional strain on his family, financial strain. So he's got multiple reasons for this new book to work.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's found a new key piece of evidence, right?
Yes.
That will help him uncover the mystery.
Right.
Right, yeah. And the fact that it just kept, like, getting more and more... For me, especially the first time I saw it, really kept reeling me in with more piece of evidence that he found. And him, too, it really felt like you were discovering more with him, especially when he started bringing in the cop and they started, like, piecing things together. I thought that was really cool because you're like, wait, this is way bigger than just...
Yeah, he went to the police.
Yeah,
Right.
he went to the police, which is something you never see in horror movies.
Right.
It was refreshing.
It was very refreshing. He actually used resources that were...
He Googled
I
something.
know he Googled things. He used cops. So, but just that, and then the fact that, like, just how it affected his family. Like, after a while, they started getting miserable. They started just wanting to leave. They actually tried to leave in the middle of the night at one point. They just tried to get out of there. He said, "This is too much. I can't." You know, of course, it didn't work out too well.
Why did they have to go back? I know the cop pulled him over.
It followed them. They left, and then it followed.
Oh, that's
them.
right. They did move into a new house at the end of the movie.
They
they
moved back
got
to
away.
their house, which
Yeah.
was like a mansion that they had left for some reason.
Yeah.
Remember
Right.
that?
Yeah.
His house
Yeah,
was
it's like
way
Bruce
better.
Manor. Yeah, Wayne Manor.
It
Yeah.
was like, why are we on Wayne Manor
Yeah.
the whole time? Y'all are kicking it in this like 3-bedroom apartment, like
Right.
whatever.
Let's go move into Amityville.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was... I forgot. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I just really liked how it just kept getting more interesting and it kept getting bigger and bigger until you found out, well, wow, there's actually something really paranormal behind all of this. And then by the time he really realized, hey, this is too much, it was too late.
Yep.
And he actually even contacted an expert on whatever that guy's name was. I don't remember. But
I did like the mythology, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the
they tried
mythology
to
was really
explain
interesting.
that it
Yeah.
wasn't just some new thing that had happened. Like, this thing had been going on throughout all of history.
Right.
Right? They're talking
The
about even...
strange disappearances. Yeah.
Right, and it being inscribed on, like, paintings and things like that.
Yeah, the symbol. There was a
Right.
symbol that kept cropping up every murder.
yeah, they said like the language was like older than, I forgot what it was, like Greek or something like that. at one
Latin.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like really old. So that was really cool how like all kind of tied in. But yeah, I mean, yeah. What'd you like about it, John?
I really liked Ethan Hawke's character. I liked how it was. I liked how it was filmed too.
Really? No, I'm messing.
Well, no, I just I don't like characters that are just like, you know, superheroes. You know, like Superman. I'm much more drawn to characters like
Spider-Man.
Bruce Wayne, where
They're
it's like,
relatable, like kind of like
Yeah.
reality a little
Tobey
bit.
Maguire.
yeah, it's
Spider-Man.
like they're
No. Oh my gosh, no, not Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, Steve.
It's almost like he's tormented by his former success, and it's like he'll do anything to get there, and
Just like Tobey Maguire.
you're kind of
trying not to curse on this thing.
not
man.
like Tobey Maguire. He torments us. But no,
You can do that dance.
I really liked his character. I liked his decision making made sense to me. Like he does keep finding new evidence, and so that is what's, you know, even though his marriage is in shambles and his wife has told him this is the very last time they're moving, and basically like she's gonna take the kids and leave if he doesn't get his act together, and she's just at a breaking point. And his kids are just kind of detached from him. He doesn't spend a lot of time with them. So, I don't know. But at the same time, he has tasted success and he's like trying so hard, and he keeps getting these breadcrumbs that really are like leading him down this trail that he feels is their big... It's going to be even bigger than the book that he wrote at the beginning, 15 years ago when he had all that success. So it really makes his character, you really care for him. You want him to succeed. You want his family to be restored. And you understand like that tension, like he's torn between, you know, like what he wants versus what his family needs.
Yeah, because remember that one scene where like he was like really sad, like he was really down, he was drinking, he was watching the old tape of when he went on air to talk about Kentucky Blood, like during his heyday.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, because it was like, man, he just wants that again. He misses it because everything has been straight downhill since then.
Well, like even when things get super spooky too, right? Like he stops, but then he gets the second part of the tapes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
that's right.
the gabagool,
Right.
the gabagool, you know, draws him back in.
Right. Yeah, it's like he tries to get out, but then he finds like another set, and he thinks he's like investigating a serial killer murder, and he has like hard evidence. Like he's got these old, their projection tape reels that have like all these old family documentaries where these families are like murdered on these films, and someone was filming them, and the police don't know about it, and nothing's been reported. So he really thinks that he has like a home run, you know, like a smoking gun case that's gonna skyrocket him back to fame, and that's what keeps him making these like, you know, questionable decisions.
To be fair though, it's a little strange that they just showed up, right? Like they made a point in the movie to show that the movies were not there.
Right.
In the house when they took the crime scene photos, and then the house had been emptied out.
Correct.
And then there is just a working projector and tapes in the attic.
Solely.
Right, like it's not in a corner. It's literally like
a box here, and everything else is
there's like
the whole
spotlights on it.
Right.
I mean,
the gabagool makes sure you're good. He like, make sure you got everything
like
you need.
Waving arm tube men sitting on top of it just to let you know, so you can't
it's
miss
right
it.
here. It's right here. And then it's there when he moves back home.
Yeah.
It's in his attic. So yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh man, we talked way too long about this one.
About Sinister.
Yeah, what did we like about...
Oh god, we gotta get into The Conjuring.
Yeah, what did we like about The Conjuring 2, Austin?
Oh, no, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, not much.
Oh, I thought you were like getting excited to say.
Oh, I'm excited
list
for
all
what
the
we don't
things that you. What I liked about The Conjuring was, it's. I like that they use the nun because that is a freaky character.
The nun is scary.
It's scary.
She's
what,
really
what
scary.
made her so scary though? Like, what did we?
I hate the way she freaking looks. Number one.
Yeah, I think it's not what you'd expect a nun to look like. You know, like
is it? Do you think it's a subversion of like the holy, right? Like,
yes,
yeah.
I think it's like the opposite. You know, like you're expecting, like you don't expect nuns to be like evil with scary faces.
And teeth, yeah.
But at least I don't.
Yeah, but they really, you know, I like The Conjuring 2 a lot because they really use that as a starting point for the nun, because the nun has their own movie next. So to me, I like this a lot. I like this movie, The Conjuring 2, a lot because they use that, and the twist at the end where they use something that was scary, something way scarier than that. You know, I like that a lot. But I liked the way, I did like the build up to an extent. There were some scary parts in it where, you know, when they were in the room and she's sitting up talking like Brandon used to do. He's talking in a corner to nothing in darkness. And number one, if my sister did that, no. I'm not asking if you're good. I'm not getting up without turning the light on. But
yeah, that was good.
And then
that was creepy.
Yeah, and then at the end of that scene, or the next night, you know, the other girl, the sister, laid back down and all of a sudden said, "This is my home," like in the pitch black right next to her. And then she reached in the darkness and turned on the light.
I'm pretty sure what he said was, "My house!"
Yeah, my house, or whatever. And then, you know, to be fair, at that point, that's it. Mostly, that would be it. But I liked the build-up. We're talking about things with it. Okay, yeah, I liked the build-up, and I liked the nun and the way they brought her in, and the way they kind of tied everything back to her at the end. I did like that.
I liked the neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, you got a single mom being harassed by ghosts. You help that lady out. You know, she can come stay with you.
Yeah.
That's
Her
fine.
and her whole family of just...
and like...
Didn't it start trashing their house too?
Yeah, but
Right.
see, and that's when it's time to
All
go.
right, lady, you gotta go.
But like, I really liked how the neighbors made intelligent decisions. The first time it all got creepy because They're like, yeah, some dude sounds like some dude broke into your house. So he went through the house to make sure it was empty and called the police immediately.
Right.
Like, that was the correct move. I liked that.
Yeah, rational decisions.
Yep.
And I'll just say I liked, I thought some of the special effects were good. The nun was super freaky.
Yeah.
Except when she was running with the painting.
Yeah, that part was...
That was a little...
Anyway, I guess we'll get to that next section.
We're really excited to talk about the dislikes of this movie if you haven't been able to tell yet.
I thought the budget was pretty good for this movie. Like, most of it was filmed pretty nice. You know, like it looked good. Like, it looked like it was kind of a high budget film for most of it.
Except for one thing we'll talk about in the dislikes.
Right. So, but that's about all I liked about it.
Yeah, I liked how they portrayed the little girl and how like she was just getting like so down and so tired and so hopeless because the entities were using her.
Well,
and go ahead.
That follows through with what the original Conjuring, right? Like Ed and Lorraine Warren's explanation of how demon possession works is it begins with demon oppression, right?
Yeah.
Which is where they just mess with you until you basically don't have the will to fight anymore.
Yeah.
And then that ends up resulting in demon possession or suicide or whatever, which is their ultimate goal. So I like that they did follow through with that whole thought process from the first movie.
Yeah, they definitely tied it together, and I mentioned it earlier, but like the first time I ever watched the movie in theaters, when Lorraine Warren was sitting on the swing with them, with the little girl, I forget her name, but like the main girl, and she asked, does it sound like voices are coming from inside you? And when she said, no, it sounded like coming behind me, like I was like, ugh, I didn't like that at all. Like in the theaters, that was really creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy.
That's
a creepy thought.
Every time I like walked in my living room at night at 12 at night, I was like, ugh.
And I hadn't heard that response, and I think that's an original response.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that in any other movie.
Like, and it kind of, to me, it gave the image of like they were using her as a puppet. To me, it's kind of what it felt like.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just kind of liked the way they portrayed the little girl and what she was going through, because she had to tie herself to the bed with a rope, and then she kept smacking herself, and then she didn't work. She still woke up next to the dead man's chair. So
well, because apparently she can teleport.
That night crawler.
That night crawler teleportation.
On that note,
so John, I know you're really reluctant to share, but go ahead and let us know what your dislikes were about The Conjuring 2.
Well, Austin.
Now that you ask.
No. There was a whole long list. There's really a long list of things I didn't like about this movie. Where to start? For one, I thought there was no character development. I haven't seen the first Conjuring, so I only just watched this one because the website told me to. And, it didn't develop Ed and Lorraine at all as characters. It just kind of threw them into... I think they were at Amityville, honestly, at the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
And then she had like some crazy vision, but I just didn't care about them at all, or like really care what happened to them. So that was the first main thing. And then same thing with the family. Like it switches over to this family in England, and there's also very little character development. Like
can you name any of the children, or even name how many children there were?
No,
I couldn't.
I think there might be 5.
I think there was 5, but I can't remember the girl's name.
Right? Yeah,
Rachel? I don't remember.
I don't know, and
I
that's a
don't know.
problem.
That's from Batman.
Oh,
Rachel.
Sorry. That's all I had to do was tell Val.
So that's a problem. It's a big problem for movies like this because like the more vested you are in the character, the more you feel like you're experiencing what they're experiencing, and vice versa. So, like, this movie wasn't that scary to me at all. Like, it had a couple of jump scares where I was like, and the nun looked scary, but it didn't affect me at all like Sinister did, or other scary movies like The Ring. Another thing, I just thought there were too many, like, things to be afraid of in this movie. I know that doesn't really make sense, but it's sort of like they didn't focus on one evil entity. It was like you had the nun, and then you had like this, what's his name? Not Slender Man, Crooked Man. Yeah. And then you had this old, this old geezer guy, and then you had the Amityville house, and then you had
screenwriters that wrote that story.
This is true. They were the real horrors.
So it was just like I felt like they would have been better served if they would have just picked one of those three and built a movie around that, because then you could have had time to develop characters and you could have had time to develop this menacing force, because all three of them would have been scary.
Right. I mean, even if they use like, they let on to the nun too early. I felt like especially with the painting, like it was a cool idea to have a demon hiding behind like a ghost or whatever it was. That was cool because it was so powerful. It was holding that captive too.
Yeah.
And that was holding the family captive. So that was a cool idea. But they just let on to that way too early.
Yeah, it was like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
So by the time they cross the tapes over and you hear it saying, "Help, it won't let me go."
Right.
Which was cool. That was a cool scene.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not shocking to you anymore.
You're like, yeah, I know.
I saw that coming.
I saw that lady like an hour ago.
I saw that 40 minutes ago.
Right,
So,
yeah.
Exactly.
Running around with paintings at people.
Yeah, and that was such a letdown, that scene.
Yeah.
Like it was really scary and really
Hallway. I hated that.
Yeah, the hallway, and then when she's in that room with the painting of the nun. Like her husband's painted this picture that he dreamt, and it's
Who
the
does
exact
that?
replica.
Number one. Let's go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah, and
Who
then
says I need something cathartic and just paints that?
and they framed it
And they framed
put
it
it in their house.
No!
Like this is the scariest, most disturbing woman.
vile image.
I couldn't get it out of my head,
Let's
so I
frame
painted it and framed it and hung it in our living
Right
room.
next to our room of horrors.
Right.
Yeah, no!
Yeah.
Sorry,
What do you
go
think,
ahead.
honey? Asking their daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
I like it. It speaks a lot.
And then there's the true events where it's like Lorraine is, she's getting flung up into the wall and being held like off the ground.
That's not Lorraine. It was the little girl.
No, Lorraine was too
Yeah,
at the end.
at the end.
And all the crosses are getting
Before it
You're right. You're
upside
right.
down.
I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot about
Because he was
that.
trying to throw her out the window.
But it's like this demon has all this power to like throw people up and hold like literally hold them levitating off the ground. But then it has to go through this like Home Alone spiel of like trying to like trick this man where it's like the guy has to get sprayed in the eyes, and then he like stubs his toe and like fumbles about up 2 stories, and
Yep.
all this like starts hearing things, like all this elaborate ruse to get him to fall out of the window accidentally, like tries to prod him out with a curtain rod or something. Like, dude, if you can hold people up, just kill him, break his neck right there on the spot.
They do teleportation. Just teleport him
Right.
up really high.
Teleport him 50 stories in the air and drop him.
That one curtain ring was holding on to that dude
Yeah.
and that little girl.
Yeah.
And he never even like just pulled up either.
Yeah.
He sat there for like 5 minutes. Who
Lorraine.
does that? Yeah. No.
Yeah. So all
Because ghosts.
He been like doing curls, man. Pull yourself up.
That's
That's true. He was working
I
out.
forgot he was so swollen that movie. He was
Yeah.
like busting
I
doors
know.
down.
Pull yourself up.
Yeah.
I know you can do it.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that's my list. That's my condensed list of what was wrong with that.
I agree with John. There was a lot about this movie I didn't like, and mostly that I didn't care about any of the characters is the biggest one. But here's my nitpicky thing. I disliked how dirty their house was.
All right. Yeah.
I don't understand why their house looks like it's been abandoned.
Okay.
I get it. It's a single mom,
Right.
and there's a bunch of kids. That's cool. Your house can be messy, but like, there's literally like layers and layers
Right.
of dirt
It's like the Dust Bowl.
on the wall,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, there's no way these people are living in this house like
So,
that.
disclaimer, before we do these videos, we watch the movies together. And so we have commentary then, and I kid you not, every other scene Steve has something to say about how dirty this
like,
house
why
is.
is it
And,
so
like,
dirty?
Yeah, like that bothered him more than anything
did.
else in this horror movie that's so critically acclaimed.
That
Like
was
I'm
the real horror.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
That's
it's
for
because
cleaning.
it's such a cheap trick. I guess that's what
Yeah.
bothers me
Yeah.
about it, right? Like, it's,
Make it dirty look scary.
right. It's
Yeah.
spooky because haunted houses are abandoned and
Right.
old.
Make
Awesome.
it like realistically scary.
Right, but
like
There are
dirty.
people living in this house.
Right.
There's a whole family living in
You
there.
don't have a chore list? Like you don't have nights for dishes? You
Right,
don't
you
have nights
got
for
plenty of
like-
kids that, go scrub the
You had
walls.
Clorox
They're
back
literally
then.
brown. Like, come on.
And every room was dirty. Like the kitchen really bothered me.
Yeah,
Like, I hated
was
that kitchen.
The
unsanitary.
like black tile.
Yeah. Like, yeah. And then there
I
was-
mean,
What
that's
about-
why the ghost busted up the kitchen table and all that
It did
stuff.
you
You're
a
like,
favor. You
y'all
needed
don't need to be
renovation.
eating on this.
What about the basement? How it was
Well,
like
what's up with that basement? Let's talk about the basement.
again, like Home Alone.
Yeah.
It was like flooded. Like the wet bandits had been there.
And that was before the demon even started messing with it. Like,
Right.
it was just...
It was the lady just messing with the washing machine.
It was a pool down there.
Yeah, it was like she broke the washing machine, and then it was just like
A day later,
Yeah.
it was like this much water
yeah.
everywhere. And that was a massive basement. I
Oh,
don't
yeah, it was
understand
big.
that either.
It's like,
Seems like he would have turned off the water.
and it was holding water. Like
Yeah, like it was a filled pool. It wasn't like
Right.
it was moving and running
Yeah,
out of the
there's a
house.
scene where it's like people are like up to their torsos, and of course the ghost grabs somebody and brings them underwater.
His dentures fall out, which is, whatever.
Yeah.
Ghost entrance.
Where'd that come from? Bloop, out of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
Just materialize his
Yeah,
dentures.
wait, yeah, that's a good point. Why are his dentures the only physical thing about him?
And they were like, oh yeah, it's the white
I
mark.
never thought of that, but like,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I don't understand. Okay, I'm gonna add another thing to add
Yeah.
to the long list.
All right, we can talk about what we disliked about this movie all day.
Yeah.
Let's move on though. What did we dislike about Sinister?
You want to go first? No. Okay, I'll go
No,
first.
I'm just thinking. Go ahead. That's fine.
So what I disliked about Sinister? There wasn't a whole lot to dislike, honestly.
It was really good. That's what I was...
I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but it was a really good movie.
I think a little more character development with the kids. I would have liked a little bit more with the kids.
Yeah.
I wasn't as invested in the children. I mean, they needed a lot of screen time with the dad, and I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone was having a little girl, I didn't really care because I didn't, I wasn't
But I think
invested.
that was intentional, right?
It might
I
have been.
think
To
they
throw you
kept
off the
her
trail.
right. They kept
That's
her in the
true.
background, so you didn't you just really didn't even
That's
think
true.
about it, and
Right.
then all of a sudden she's the murderer.
Right.
Yeah,
So I do
that's
think
true.
that was an intentional.
That's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
And that was a good move. Like most of the time, you can kind of guess where a movie's heading, but
At least
this
halfway
movie,
through, you can
yeah, it was like, if you've seen the preview, you know it's some kind of monster. But if you hadn't seen the preview, you would be like, oh, this is a serial killer, maybe. But then like the time range between the videos is like 40 years, so you're like, is this a 70-year-old serial killer guy? And then like that's not super scary. And
Unless it's Michael
then
Myers.
like you see it's like this
The guy
monster,
from Conjuring 2.
right?
The old man.
Yeah, his
Wilkins.
dentures. Yeah, Wilkins. So there was the one thing I'd say I didn't like about it was there were a couple questionable decisions that Ethan Hawke started making towards the end. Like he would go up in the attic, like one time he so mostly into the movie, like you're mostly into the movie, so you've had paranormal experiences already. Stuff weird has been happening with his family. And then he would hear like something outside, and he would like go out by himself and investigate it.
Let me see what that does.
Right. Or he would hear like footsteps in the attic, and he would like go up by himself
And
instead
not
of
turn
calling the
on a
cops.
single light. Let's go ahead and put that out there.
Right. He
Yeah.
didn't
That
turn
bothered
any of the lights on.
Boy, he walked by so many light switches.
Yes, that's a good point.
And he's like, where's my phone?
And it was so darkly shot, like
Yes.
Steve was saying, like you just. But that was part of the genius of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I do think you're right. I think they went to excess with that in
Right.
certain scenes. Because, like, if I hear spooky noises in my house, I'm going to go check out, hey, what was that noise in the hallway? I'm going to turn on the light.
Right.
Especially if things have been happening lately.
Right, that's the thing. It had already, stuff had already been happening to his family. He had already seen all these murders and was, investigating Bagul at that point.
And the cop was like, do you believe in the paranormal? In his own home.
Right.
And he just said, well, stuff's been happening in this house. A family was murdered here. If I hear something in the attic after all of this stuff, I'm
Right.
turning on a light switch.
You at least turn the light off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
if my balls of steel, I'm turning on a light switch.
Right. So just stuff like that. You would turn out a light switch, and you also would probably call the cops. Like, I
My
wouldn't think...
cop friend.
The last thing I would think to do is my cop friend. He
You
had a
just
friend on the
defended.
police force at this point. But the last thing you would do is go in the dark without any flashlight. I don't remember if he even had a weapon. He just pulls the attic stairs down and goes up pitch black or something.
I hated that.
Maybe he had his phone. I don't remember.
He had his phone as a flashlight.
But that was
That's what he was
it.
doing.
They didn't turn the lights on, did nothing. So yeah, but those are few and far between. Like most of the time,
Yeah.
he behaved like a rational human
Right.
being would.
Yeah, up to the point of leaving the spooky haunted house.
Yeah, he even left,
Yeah, which
He's
is
like,
so rare
"Nope,
these
time,
days.
Time to go.
which was also refreshing. Yeah, he was
However,
like,
it was
no,
too late.
Didn't
he's
help
like,
him, but I do
But he
appreciate
he
the
tried.
I do too.
A
He
for
was
effort.
he was like, I was wrong, to his wife. Let's get the kids. We need to go now.
Yeah, I promise I won't move us into any more murder houses.
Yep.
Like,
But it was too late, unfortunately.
Steve, did you have anything to add about dislikes?
dislikes for Sinister? No, I think it was. We've covered most of the stuff. He made some decisions that were questionable. And yeah, some of the lighting, as much as I appreciated what they were doing, sometimes it did get a little heavy-handed.
It's a little too dark sometimes,
Right?
yeah.
And
And maybe that scene of the kids like
That was just weird to
parading
me.
down the hallway, the ghost kids.
yeah.
That was
like,
just weird.
I didn't understand why they put that in.
That was like, we need 10 more minutes in this movie.
Well, and that's
they
the
were
thing
just
too
like
is I
that.
don't understand, and maybe this happens in the second one, but I don't understand so spooky ancient demon. Why is he snatching up children and murdering people and tricking kids into murdering people? Like,
something about eating their souls or something. It was kind of like his
gets them to do
forte.
his work.
Yeah.
like which I get, but then like they still are there. Like, yeah, because they said that he like eats their souls, but. I mean, then the kids are all just running through Ethan Hawke's house
Right, playing around.
in the dark, messing around.
The very first kid that popped out in the kitchen, the little girl, that did freak me out. I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen this movie, and even that got me. I was like, oh, I forgot you were there. But then they were just like painted weird and doing like weird Indian dances in the hallway around him, real slow motion. Like he was walking in a completely dark hallway.
That was probably the only scene I didn't like about the movie.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then they had a jump scare with one of those kids, so that might have been why they put that in. It was like, oh, we need another scary part
Need
here.
10 more.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about what we've liked, we've talked about what we've disliked. So now we've reached the portion of Lost Panel where we give our vote for which of these two movies we think is better. And for me, it's got to be Sinister. It's just there's no contest. Honestly, I know why we chose these two movies to compare against, but like the few jump scares that got me from The Conjuring 2 don't compare to the character development and really kind of the terror you feel and the dread you feel throughout all of Sinister.
Yeah.
And then let alone the twist at the end got me on that one, there was a twist at the end of The Conjuring 2, but as we mentioned, that kind of you saw that one coming.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I genuinely was not expecting his daughter to murder him at the end of the scene. Sinister.
With
Yeah.
the axe.
Yeah, it was brutal. Yeah. So yeah, one vote for me for Sinister.
Yep. Yeah, I'd have to say the same. It wasn't close. So Sinister is just it's not just a good horror movie. It's just a really great, well done movie in general that happens to be scary. The filming was great. The acting was great. The characters were believable and great. Really, there was so much to like about this movie, and there was so little to like for me about Conjuring 2. Like, I just really didn't like hardly any of that movie. There was no real saving grace for me. I wouldn't recommend that movie to anybody. And there were jump scares in Sinister that scared me way more. And again, I think that was because I was more invested with like the characters. Yeah,
Did that work?
that did scare me.
Oh, good. Yeah. See, you can get scares out
Now
of
you
it.
got to sneak in his house and do it in the dark corner of his room.
It did give me a little
Hey,
shit.
listen,
I wasn't expecting you to just yell at me.
that was pretty good for you not to freak out on camera, though.
Yeah,
that's
right.
pretty
I know,
impressive.
yeah.
You
There's
maintained
the
your
steal.
composure.
That's right. It didn't scare me one bit. But yeah, my vote's for Sinister.
Well, my vote is also Sinister. I mean, it's pretty unanimous at this point. Just overall, like you said, it's overall a more solid movie. It was minimalistic CGI, which all movies that can pull that off that are scary are always way better than the ones that have to use
You
a
don't
lot.
think the CGI in The Conjuring 2 was realistic?
Up to a point. But when we got to the claymation Crooked Man, that was kind of it for me.
So bad.
That was it for me, man.
So bad.
Imagine having to film that scene as, the guy who played whatever his name
I'm
is.
sure he got fired.
I'm sure.
It's like it's too late. It's too late to cut this out of the movie, but you are so fired.
Like, man,
You're
no,
blackballed.
like having having to like react and be scared while they're like, there's gonna be a clay figure in the movie with you. To me, that would be no. But yeah, it was just overall better. The character development was way better. Like the cinematography was amazing. The lighting was great. I mean, it was just way better than The Conjuring. It got you more invested, and the 3 jump scares in The Conjuring, was that really worth an hour and 45 minutes of my life? No. Now the whole Sinister 2 movie, yeah, like that was great. Like that was all well rounded. That was worth it. But no.
I think you mean Sinister 1, Sinister 2.
Yeah, that looks pretty
bad.
Oh, did I say Sinister?
Yeah.
2? Whoops. Yeah, no, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, please no.
But yeah, I mean, so it seems like we're all in accordance here. I'm pretty sure it's pretty...
So Sinister is the clear winner between these two movies for scariest and best.
That's, so we are not going to be comparing 2 movies off of a website anymore, are we? or will we? Maybe we will. Who knows? Who knows? So... Our next one, even though there's an abundance of horror movies to watch and to compare, and we do want to do a lot more, we're going to take a step away from horror movies, and we're going to go into something a little bit different. We're going to go into kaiju. No, we're not going to Pacific Rim. We're not.
Godzilla's a kaiju movie.
We will get to Pacific Rim, but not yet. We're going to go into one of the original black and white Godzillas from when John was just born. And then also...
Steve's older than me.
Shh, no, that's not important.
And then also we're going to go into one of the newer ones from Godzilla. The Godzilla versus King Kong, which if you haven't seen that yet, I don't think either one of y'all have seen that yet.
I haven't seen it. And if anybody's watching this, leave in the comments below any movies you want us to compare.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Any suggestions, ideas, thoughts? We're happy to sit through any terrible movie you can throw
Clearly.
away.
I mean, clearly.
Or hopefully a good movie, if you want.
Let us know one good movie and one terrible movie, and we'll watch both of them. Give this video a thumbs up for us if you liked.
Mom,
Rita, please.
Mom, if you're out there.
Patricia, please. But yeah, we will see you guys in the next video. John, give the thumbs up. There we go.